What's up? This is Matty from Memphis May Fire, and you're watching Rock Forever Magazine.
Hey guys, it's Tori from Rock Forever Magazine, and I am here today once again with Matty from Memphis May Fire.
What's
How
up?
have you been?
Awesome.
I know, we are in the coolest room right now. I know you guys can't really see, but every wall is autographed by everyone that's ever played at Hard Rock.
Crazy. My tour manager just told me that the actual vocal booth that Elvis recorded in is in this room, which is wild.
Insane.
It's super insane.
So are you going to autograph the wall next? Are you the next one?
I don't think I deserve to. I'd be a little nervous to write on these walls.
No, you're definitely worthy, for sure. All right, so we are going to start with a few finish the sentence questions for you.
Cool.
Pretty basic here. So now, the biggest challenge you've overcome as a band was when?
The biggest challenge that we've overcome as a band, I think, was me joining the band. You know, I think a lot of people will shun a band when they change a frontman. You know, a lot of bands or a lot of people, you know, get attached to a frontman. Luckily, you know, our band was only a band for like a year before I joined, and they had developed some buzz, but not too much to the point of no return. So, you know, I was thankful that I was able to step in, and even though it took a lot of work and a lot of time, we were able to, you know, get back on track and really regain the trust of our fans and everybody that works for us and everything. So
yeah, and that story sounds familiar because Emarosa is sort of going through the same kind of thing right now. You know, they had
Totally.
Johnny Craig for a while, and now they have a new singer. Have you given him any advice, or have you talked to them at all about that? Or
I mean, that dude is doing great.
Yeah.
I don't think he needs any advice.
True.
You know, I think the only advice I could give him is pretty obvious. He already knows. You know, just keep your head up, and you know, there's going to be a lot of bumps in the road when you're a second frontman, third frontman, whatever it may be. You know, people will try to shut you down and tell you that, you know, the band's not going to go anywhere. But if you have faith in what the band's doing, if you have a vision, you know, nothing can stop you as long as you're really proactive about making sure you know, attack all those goals. And, you know, Ryan from Yellowcard, he's not the original frontman either. So all three of the bands on this tour are, it's kind of like the success story of that. So it's cool.
yeah, I know. Look at you guys now, right?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and now your favorite album of all time is?
Silence by Blindside.
Ooh, good choice.
Yeah.
And now the key to success is?
Expect nothing, be grateful for everything.
Words of wisdom there. And last finished sentence, the highlight of your career so far was when?
Whew. Every day, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible. Like, you can wake up every morning on tour and kind of get caught up in the monotony of things and start to take things for granted. But, I mean, when you wake up and you really realize what's going on around you and how much is being done for you and all the support that goes into it, it's just incredible. There's nothing that we shouldn't be thankful for. So I just think that every day, you know, that we continue as a band is our greatest accomplishment. It's really cool.
Yeah. And now your latest album, Unconditional, is out now. And, you know, I've heard you guys say a lot that this is your most personal record to date. And you had some dark times in between Challenger and Unconditional. But why did you choose to share these personal stories with fans? Because just since you're in a band, you're not obligated to share this stuff. So why did you decide to?
Right. Well, I've always felt like, you know, since I have this platform to share any message I want, you know, I should always share a message of hope. And my sister's a therapist. Her name's Amy. She's incredible. And when I was going through the roughest time of my life, which you just mentioned, it was during the time that we were writing a new record. And I had a whole different idea for what that record was going to be when it wasn't Unconditional. And I just spent so much time talking to her, and, you know, she just said, I think it's important that you're honest with your fan base. And I thought long and hard about it. I was like, okay, you know, like, if I share my weaknesses, maybe people won't feel like they can look up to me anymore. And there's all those thoughts that run through your head. But when it really came down to it, it was the best thing I could do, was to tell our fan base, hey, we're normal people, just like everybody else. We're struggling with the same exact things. The only difference between us and them is that we're, you know, lucky enough to be on a stage and sharing our message. So I think it's really incredible to be able to, I think the biggest message of hope is to say, we're doing this together. You know, it's not like you're going through something and I have all the answers. You know, we're going through it together, and if I have any sort of hope, I'll offer that along the way.
Yeah. So now that the album is out and fans are getting to hear this message, what sort of feedback have you been receiving from them? What have you been hearing?
Just one-on-one interactions with fans. That's what really makes touring worth it. It's so amazing to go out and you know, hang out by the bus after the show, and kids will come up and people, you know, come up to talk to you and just tell you their story and how your music affected their lives. It's amazing. I feel like it's so much bigger than us. You know, I'll put something into a record that I feel like is worth it, and it's almost like I just plant the seed, and then God does the rest of the work. You know, God's been so good to our band, and ultimately I think what our band is just a group of dudes that God chose to be a part of His story. You know, His story is the greatest story ever told, and so it's not about us, but we get to be a part of it, and that's the greatest honor of my entire life.
Mm-hmm. And your Christian faith is a very prominent part of your life and your music. So how do you strike a balance between expressing your beliefs without excluding those who may not share the same ideals?
Yeah. Well, I'm just one person, and I've only found one thing that's worth living for. Mm-hmm. So if I'm going to get up on stage or if I'm going to make a new record and I'm going to be honest, the only story that I can truly tell is mine. Yeah. And without God being the absolute foundation of my life, who I am and who I'm becoming every day, there's a good chance I don't think I would be alive right now. Mm-hmm. And so I don't have a choice. Yeah. You know, whether people feel excluded or not, I know in my heart, like, what saved my life and the real answer. It's what The Answer on our album is about, that song. And so I'm going to share it.
Yeah, exactly. You got to be true to yourself, and then it's the most sincere for sure. And I know in another interview, I have a quote here, you said that this record was not only needed to put out, but it was the record that the scene really needed. So what do you think this album is contributing to the scene that was previously lacking?
True hope. I mean, there's so many bands that I think they don't want to hold the weight of having to be role models, you know? So a lot of bands will just be like, man, what do kids want to hear about? Like sex, drugs, rock and roll, money, cars, you know, like whatever it is, like, hey, you know, do this and you can be rich, or do this and you'll be happy. The problem is it's all lies. None of that's true. There's no amount of success or money or fame that will ever lead to a true fulfillment. And when I really just let this stop being about me and just started looking up about everything, it's when I found true peace, true joy, true happiness at the very inner core of who I am. So, you know, I mean, if I have that, you know, I think I would have to hate people a lot to not share that with them.
Yeah.
And so I think that is exactly what the scene needs.
Yeah, it's true that there are a lot of bands that are writing about things that are very different than the subject matters that you tackle. But do you think there are any other bands in the scene that may have a similar message to you that you guys support?
Totally, yeah. I mean, in the scene, it depends on what you call the scene, you know?
True, yeah.
I've got a lot of friends who love Jesus and want to tell everybody about it, and I think that's awesome. Obviously, Matty Montgomery is a super strong guy. He's out there, very faith-based. You know, I mean, even friends that are in bands that are not Christian bands, quote unquote, because we don't call ourselves a Christian band. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a lot of people out there that know what's up, and they're out there to tell people about it. And I think that's a big part of who I am, is just to be an encourager when I'm out here, to show people like, hey, everyone is going this way, I'm gonna go this way, and it's okay to go that way, you know. So yeah, I'm not the only one, that's for sure.
Yeah. And another thing that you had mentioned in a separate interview was that your vision for the album had completely changed from start to finish of the recording process. So how exactly did your mindset evolve, and how did that influence the final product?
The thing about anxiety is when you're in the thick of it, it's horribly, it's so hard to think about anything else. Mm-hmm. It'll consume your thoughts. It'll consume your days, your nights. And so I was writing a really dark record, a lot like Sleepless Nights, you know, like that song. I was just like, man, this is what I'm going through. I'm going to talk about it. But there's no hope in the record. And I think that nothing really concretes my faith like sharing it. And so I just wanted to tell people, like, you know, I didn't want to write a record about anxiety and just let it float and then have everybody thinking like, oh, I wonder like if he's just going to jump off of a building, you know. And I am so certain about the things that had been a big turning point in my life that I put those in the record, like The Answer, you know, like No Ordinary Love, you know, like those songs are very real, very true to me. And so it was important that we had that direction change in what the record was like.
Yes, and you did mention Sleepless Nights and The Answer, and I know those are two songs that are kind of connected.
They are.
So how are they related, and what's the theme of those tracks?
I tried my best to describe what it's like to, you know, be in the thick of anxiety and panic attacks, depression in the song Sleepless Nights. And I think the only people that can really connect with it are people that have experienced that firsthand. It's terrible. I would never wish that on anybody. I would hope that nobody ever for the rest of the time has to go through it. Unfortunately, it's real, it exists, and people will. But that's why the answer is there. The answer is there for people who, because the worst thing about anxiety is just thinking like every day when I wake up, this is what I'm going to feel like. And I have another 70 years of complete torment to look forward to. That's not the truth. The truth is that God is here. If we trust in him, if we say, Lord, my life is yours, and whatever comes of this, Lord, I just hope that it honors you, and you can watch as your life just turns like that. He is the answer to everything. So as soon as I started realizing that and trusting in that, I wasn't worried about medication anymore. I wasn't focused on, how every day is going to turn out, because every new day has its own anxieties. Just living in the moment, appreciating things, I think is really the ultimate way to get away from anxiety and depression. So.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think is the biggest misconception about the band that you'd like to clear up? Maybe for anybody who doesn't know you guys too well, or maybe misinformed.
Gosh. I think there's a million misconceptions of our band. I'll read something new about me on the internet every day that I didn't know.
Oh, no. What has been the latest one that you've heard?
A lot of times people think my wife and I are having a baby when we're not, because, we talk about our love for each other so much and about our puppy and everything. Everyone's like, oh, they must be having a kid soon, or, whatever. Every time we're putting out a new music video, I'm like, I've got good news, you guys. And everyone's like, you're pregnant, and that's not it at all.
No.
But I would hope that anybody who uses the internet understands that the internet is garbage. It's a total joke. If you want to know me, come to a show and talk to me. I'll share my heart with you and tell you who I really am. If you don't want to know me, go ahead and read the internet. And listen to what everybody else has to say. But yeah, it's just, it's garbage.
Yeah. Aside from your Twitter account, which everybody should totally follow, that's not garbage. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah.
No, but you're currently on a co-headlining tour with Yellowcard, and I must say this was a very unexpected duo of bands here, something I never thought would happen. How'd you guys get in touch, and how did this lineup come about?
Well, we met on Warped Tour a couple years back. We played Warped Tour together, and then we ended up doing Warped Tour in Europe together. Oh. Throughout the course of that, we found out that they were fans of our band, and obviously we are fans of their band. So I think just how odd that is, was immediately attractive to us. Like, we wanted to hang out with them every day, because usually people are so genre specific, we play, pop rock, or we play pop punk, or we play metalcore, and if you're not like us, we don't want to hang out with you. It's unfortunately that's how retarded the world is. But this is such an odd pairing that when we had the idea, we never thought it would happen. But when we were in Europe and we were talking about it together, we were in Vienna, Austria. Kevin Lyman overheard us. He came out. He was the owner of Warped Tour. Right. He came out to us. He's like, you guys have to do that tour. And you guys have to do a song together and bring these two different fan bases together. It'll be iconic. Yeah. And we were just like, okay. So we talked to our booking agents. Everybody was against it. I think everybody wanted this tour to not happen. Everybody wanted us to go out with the Of Mice and Men's and the Bring Me the Horizons, and I get that, and we'll definitely do that in the future. Those are great bands and that we do fit really well with. But we wanted to take this stand and say, this tour is not expected. It could fail if people decided to not support it, but we want to do it. We want to give the scene something different, and we did. And we're only a week into this tour, but every show has been consistently incredible. And seeing our two fan bases in one room together, and obviously what Imarosa brings to the table is amazing. Mm-hmm. It's such a beautiful sight. And Ryan from Yellowcard says it every night. I think Yellowcard fans and Memphis May Fire fans have a lot more in common than they may know. So I think we're doing something great for the scene with this tour. Yeah. And it's just so awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing, because it's true that everybody is so divided between the genres here that you guys are bringing it together, and I love that.
Yeah.
And what are your plans for after this tour? I know you said you're a weekend, but what are your plans for right after this?
Tour plans?
Plans in general that you'd like to share?
Plans in general. Well, we're going to be home for a couple of months. We'll be working on new music.
Already?
You have to. You have to take any opportunity you get to write new music. That doesn't mean it's going to be out soon. It just means that we're going to, when we have time to do it, we're going to write. But we're going to be home for the holidays, which is great.
Good.
I'll be working on more solo stuff too. I love it. I built a studio in my house, so it's why not, But yeah, it's a little bit of time off. We have 3 more American tours planned that haven't been announced yet. They're all completely different. So, it's not like you could just pick one and choose I'm going to go to that one instead of those. Everyone's going to come to all of them because they're all so individually great. Our booking agent, Dave Shapiro, he's brilliant. He's probably the smartest person I've ever met in the music industry. So to be able to work hand in hand with him on the future of this band has been a blessing. So yeah, we know what we're doing for sure. And you guys will find out soon.
I know. Now I'm getting really excited for these tours. No suspense or anything.
No, it's going to be awesome.
All right. Well, thank you so much for hanging out. It has been great talking to you
Totally.
once again. And everybody watching, check out Unconditional. You can get a copy on iTunes if you haven't already. Subscribe for more interviews. Catch you later. Bye.